You're listening to We Deepen Media.
This podcast is brought to you by We Deepen. We Deepen has partnered with the Esther Perel discussion group on Facebook and Leveled Up Love to bring you Relate Fest. Relate Fest is for people who are endlessly curious about relationships. It's 2.5 days of socializing, learning, connection, and play happening the weekend of March 4th through 6th in the Miami, Florida area. Due to spatial capacity, the event is limited to 100 people, so if you're interested, make sure to sign up soon. Find out more at wedeepen.com/RelateFest. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Deepen with Christina. I'm your host, Christina Weber, founder of We Deepen, wedeepen.com. Go check out the calendar if you haven't recently, and you can see all types of upcoming transformational and social experiences. Today, this episode, I'm at a friend's place. She's part of the We Deepen community. She's in the We Deepen WhatsApp group, Amber J. Larson. And we are going to recap the 9th annual Feminine Weapon Day. We're recording this about 4 days after the event, and it was such a magical evening. So I want to share that with you, and I also want to preference. Here's my commitment to you. This podcast, the past 2 weeks, they have been released sporadically, and that's because I have had more on my plate than normal. Feminine Weapon Day itself, this was almost the year that it didn't happen. The world is array with coming out of, or sometimes people are still in COVID. The production of big events and also finding the right space. And 2 weeks before that event, the 9th annual Feminine Weapon Day, I sat next to Darian Songberg at a friend's gathering, and he offered to donate his space. And that's the space. It's in downtown Los Angeles. It used to be an old toy factory, and in 2004, they converted this toy factory into private residence. And Darian moved in, and he is a toy maker himself. So how perfect is that? And Darian does two things. He does ocarinas. He makes ocarinas. He was, I think, one of the first people on the internet to make ocarinas. They are like a flute-like instrument that he has added, I guess, the neck feature, so you can wear it as a necklace, and also dancing wings. These are these beautiful wings that men, women, whoever put on, actually children get really excited by him, and he sells these beautiful dancing wings. So he had it at his place 2 weeks before, got the venue, and it all came together so magically. Amber was there. And Amber J was there, and we have raised. We're in this calculation between 7,500 to 8,000. So we're in that middle mark. After the event, I actually had announced in the WhatsApp group that we had raised 6,500, which I will speak to. 6,500 is the net of the event. And the expenses for it are around we had a vegan chef, so for food and catering cost, we rented a sound equipment. We didn't have to pay for the venue, so our expenses were pretty minimal. And I think it's going to be about $8,000. So I announced in the WhatsApp chat that we raised 6,500, and Sunyu, who's been a part of the event since day one, challenged everyone to get to 8,000. And as she made that challenge, which I so appreciate, if you're going to challenge somebody, like, put some skin in the game. And she went straight to the page, the event page, and donated $500. And then someone else in the WhatsApp group right after that, who wants to remain anonymous, went ahead and she donated another $500. And then there's some smaller donations. So it's beautiful to also acknowledge the wealth, the abundance within the We Deepen community. And the event began on the rooftop of downtown Los Angeles, and we had 2 Olympian fencers do a demonstration. These 2 beautiful women went in and fencing. Natalie Nava and also Francesca Bascal. They're both fencers, and it was just this opening. And you had Darian, who's, he has a lot of unique instruments, was playing. I wish I knew the name of the instrument that he was playing, but it was like he was wearing like a belt and put the MP3 into the instrument and was turning it to have the music playing as the sun is setting over downtown Los Angeles. And then we brought everyone inside through this gorgeous silver door of the apartment. And the apartment is just decorated. It's one of the most magical places. I hope, if you're listening and you're part of this community, we will do more things there. If Darren, he is listening to the podcast. So if he says yes, we're back there. And then we had a vegan chef dinner and performances, Tori Wolf and Sammy Rose and Yadi Iksa and Jasmine, Safina, and Olivia, her partner. And so it was just this powerful evening. And I found it really interesting that at the end of the night, I asked a few people what was their favorite part. And one person had said to me that his favorite part of the evening was hearing Dr. Theron Gordon speak about Shibari, the organization that Feminine Weapon Day was the beneficiary of. And it's so impactful. For years, this event has been supporting the Orphan Starfish Foundation, Arte More. They place computer systems in orphanages around the world and teach the children to use computers. And Arte More brings art and healing programs to those same children. This is 13,000 children in 27 countries. And as we make this transition, because the theme of Feminine Weapon Day this year is the space between stories, which I found that a lot of people are resonating with the space between stories right now. And so we have this transition happening with the funding. And this year now it's beginning to go to children who've been impacted by the foster care system, as well as children who lived in underprivileged or underserved communities. And we're bringing them leadership, transformational social experiences, similar to the ones that all of us grown-ups get to partake in and heal all of our trauma through the We Deepen network and the experiences that we curate. We're going to bring these to the kids. And it's one thing to note about the foster care system, and I'm definitely still learning. We will do a podcast with Dr. Gordon, so you're going to get to hear more. But a lot of the kids, once they hit the age of 18, they have to leave. They have to exit the foster care system. And oftentimes they end up on the street. They get trafficked. All the same things that's happening in the orphanages around the world happens here in the United States of America. And so we are now beginning to support the kids that are closest to us, which I'm really appreciative of, because as you think of, I mentioned this before, but the Robin Dunbar number is around the human brain, can only handle about 150 to 200 people. And so as we start these like kind of micro communities, micro circles, and we reach the people closest to us, it can keep extending out further and further and further. And I think in the philanthropic world, that is really important, because there was that rise of philanthropy in the early to mid 2000s. And it was really around like this bigness of a lot of, Wall Street people being like, we're going to go help all the kids, in Haiti and Africa and Asia. And because there's bigness to that. However, right here in our own backyards, there are people who need support and help. And we're making that impact. So that's kind of the recap of Feminine Weapon Day. Now, Amber, welcome to your first episode of the Deepen with Christina podcast. And just to give some preference to who I'm sitting across from. So Amber is a coach. She is one who is like harnesses the feminine, the goddess energy. And she has programs that help to activate women to manifest their deepest desires. And she also does a lot of philanthropic work on her own, has an organization, Comedy Gives Back, which helps comedians. You can say a little bit about that. So welcome to the podcast, Amber.
Thanks for having me. I'm a longtime listener, first time podcaster. Thank you for having me.
First time ever on a podcast?
No.
Okay.
But with you.
I didn't think so. Okay. What was your experience like for Feminine Open Day?
You know, what's interesting is I participate.
Oh, we have a little dog here, so we just need to acknowledge and bring him into the conversation with us.
He wants to talk. Leo J. Tolstoy Lawson, my son. He's a pug. I got to participate in 2021 Feminine Weapon Day when we were on Clubhouse. And so it was so nourishing to be in person to celebrate the 2022 Feminine Weapon Day and to do it on the roof downtown in this magical portal that was created as the sherbet sunset with the array of juicy colors over the downtown sky and having wings and having these magical, mystical experiences as we entered into the space, transported into this just love portal, connection and creativity and full self-expression. It felt like home. It felt community and a deep community.
And there's that extra special layer of, I wish every event that I could do, like when I go through Feminine Open Day, I want to become a fundraiser. Like I want to focus on fundraising for the children in everything that I do. So to have that experience where everybody knew that their ticket was good, that everybody in the space was essentially donating their gifts, whether it was buying the ticket, whether it was performing, whether it's being part of production, like it was all totally pure love and pure heart. And not to say that things that, because the experiential world actually needs you to support us so we can keep producing the experiences. But I think that created this next level of of connectiveness. Like we're not just here for ourselves. We're showing up for something bigger than ourselves.
That is the movement that's happening right now. As we shift into the divine feminine, it is about community. It is about deepening. It is about sharing my gifts and your gifts. And together we weave experiences that nourish not only ourselves, because I walked away from that evening fully nourished, eating vegan food, not a vegan myself, but enjoying it. And connecting with new people and people I haven't seen in a really long time. And then the gifts being shared and then contributing my gifts into the mix I believe that's where we're going. And you are always a trailblazer in this. And that was just a beautiful way to kick off 2022.
Thank you. Thank you for being there. So now Feminine Open Day is complete. The 9th annual one is complete. As the day was coming up, because it was, produced and pretty much shared about 2 weeks prior, and it was limited capacity. It was the first event that was only 50 people, and also of a higher bar of the tickets being $150 plus. It created this, as you said, a portal, this new smaller, more intimate group. And the day is now done. However, January 30th, 2023 will be the 10th annual Feminine Weapon Day. We'll do it again January 30th, 2024 and January 30th of 2025 and January 30th of 2026. So it's always that day. So I hope moving forward that everyone can block that day off on their calendar. And I envision, you know, if we're talking about manifesting, like stating your desires and your intention, that to me, I hope that one day I won't stop doing it. I hope that one day it will raise millions and millions of dollars, and there will be multiple Feminine Weapon Day activations happening throughout the world where men and women and theys are uniting in benefit of the children. Because that's, you know, when you think about sustainability and how to really impact the world, it's going to be giving these children the tools that we are receiving now, later in life, giving it to them sooner rather than later. And I'm seeing that transition happening as being recently 40. And I'm seeing that the younger generation is getting now, you know, they're stepping into these portals. Whereas me at, 25, I was getting drunk at the bar in New York City or the club and not knowing about these alternative places. And this is also the first year that Feminine Weapon Day had no alcohol. It was a sober experience. And as it wrapped, it came to an end. You know, I always ask the question of being an event producer is, when it hits 9:00, the end of the event, how do you have a hard stop? Do you want everyone out at that time? And Darian said, no, it's okay. They can stay and hang out, but I don't know how much they'll hang out without, alcohol being here. And people hung out. We ended up leaving there at midnight. So there is this sober movement happening around people wanting to come together without the reliance of booze. And I see the younger generation as well partaking into like realizing, wait, my parent is an addict and so-and-so is an addict and I need to reshift my relationship. So they're more willing to go to these experiences that don't include alcohol.
When transformation is at the center, at the core, the vices that we used as we were coming up to avoid our feelings, to move through the bumps in the road, they have different tools. We just didn't have those tool sets, and now they're learning them. And that's what I'm so excited about Shibari and Deepen coming together and supporting this transfer, getting these tools earlier, having the next generation being exposed to other modalities and techniques and tools to move through their feelings, to heal their trauma, to express themselves, to find community. Because ultimately, right, we just want to find community. We want to find our family, our tribe. And these kids, all kids for that matter, strive to figure that out. Some may seemingly look like they have their tribe together, but that's not the expression of who they are. And so I am excited to participate in this transformation, sharing these tools, these techniques, these gifts, these modalities, whatever you want to call them, with the next generation. So they are the leaders. They're the ones that are going to keep this planet here if we're going to keep it. So, they get to have these tools. We got them in our 30s and 40s. They get to have them in their 10s and 20s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So I think we can now, that's the wrap up of Feminine Weapon Day, the 9th annual Feminine Weapon Day. If you are interested in participating in next year, feel free to reach out to me now. I usually, because of bandwidth capacity challenges, 2 weeks prior, and eventually that will shift and change. And it's pretty magnificent that we have built a reputation and a system that we can actually, in that quickly period of time, sell 50 tickets and have people show up. So just feel free to reach out. You can send me an email, c@wedeepen.com. So as I'm transitioning, there's two topics that are of interest to me. The one topic is you shared as, this podcast is very spontaneous. I knew that I was behind in recording, although I have some in reserves, but I really wanted to share with you guys about Feminine Weapon Day. And so I walk in to hang out with spend some time with Amber J and arrive and I'm like, hey, you want to record a podcast? So now this hangout moment and it began too of, so these two tracks are, number one, Amber wanted to ask some questions around We Deepen and what is the financial model for the organization, because she had invited me to her birthday party. And I said, right now I don't have a salary and I am sort of nomadic, don't have the funds to pay rent right now at the moment, but I'm living on community of the gift. So I don't necessarily need it at the moment. However, I do live in the same world that you all live in. And so we do need to go back into fundraising and we do need to increase our revenue streams. So that is one topic that I'd love for you to invite in and ask some questions and to share that with the listeners, because this podcast is about following the journey and the development of We Deepen and also wanting to invite people to get involved now. Now, the second track is, one of the last deeper conversations that we had months ago, you had a man who had lived with you for a month, and you had begun, as I walked in the door, of saying like, oh, do you remember that guy who had stayed with me? And that there's these lessons learned around that scenario or situation. So let's start there because this is really juicy. And then we can go into the business stuff afterwards. I believe that we should mix business and pleasure because all of life should be pleasurable. So give us a little framework of this experience. I'll call it experience that you had.
Well, it didn't start out with a man moving in for a month. So last summer, it was my birthday. My birthday's in August, and I was gearing up, and I got a DM in Facebook from this guy who does Shibari. Now, Shibari is the ancient art of bondage, of tying, and this person in particular was connected through a mutual friend, and I was titillated. I remember being at Burning Man, and somebody stood up at one of the events saying, I want to be tied up. And I was like, what is she talking about? What is that? And so opened up my eyes to what Shibari was, but I didn't know a lot about it. Anyway, he slid into my DMs, and and I was like, okay, well, maybe this is my gift to myself, this Shibari journey. And I had a consultation with him and agreed.
So wait, he slid into your DMs to sell you on Shibari?
Basically, he was on tour in the United States doing Shibari sessions. What a Shibari session looks like for him. He's a Shibari shaman. So he is about a transformational journey through ropes. And it is sacred sexuality. So it is activating eros, playing with your limits and lines, what you think your sexuality is, healing. It's a healing journey, and yeah, I didn't know what to expect, but I was titillated, to say the least. But yes, he had slid into my DMs, and I was curious, and I had a call with him, about an hour explorative call, and I was fuck yes. And we planned it for like 2 days later. And he came over to my house, and we went on this. Well, first there was consent and a walking through of the process. We had a tea ceremony. We set a ritual. We lit candles. We called in our ancestors, guides, and angels. We called in the elements. We called in eros. We called in the fire. We called in expansion. And And then we went on this journey, and it was about a 9-hour journey. It's sexual ayahuasca, for lack of a better term.
And did this begin in the nighttime, or was this during the day?
It started in the afternoon and went way into the evening till midnight or 1 a.m. And it goes in sessions, and each one you kind of check in. Is there more? Is there more to explore? Is there a deeper cut in what's unfolding? Would you like me to go into detail?
Yeah, so I'm curious. So I get the tea ceremony, I get the setting it up. That's a lot of setting up, and you mentioned multiple phases. So do both of you strip down naked, or when does that happen in the process? And then he ties you up.
So it's such a beautiful process. So I was in a bikini, like a swimsuit bikini, but with clothes on over it. I didn't know either. And we did taking off layers of our stories, our concerns. So he took off a layer, and that was his performance layer, his concern that he needed to perform or it needed to get somewhere. And I took off my judgment, right? My judgment of what I'm about to do. He took off another layer and another layer. And then I was in my bikini and he was in his underwear. And then we began this shamanic process where he tied me to him. And it was non-sexual. It was, in fact, neutral. And I felt held. I felt comforted. I felt like I was dropping in. He took me on a visualization of sound. And the biggest tip he gave me was, you can fight the ropes or you can surrender. And if you surrender, the ropes will hold you. If you fight the ropes, they will bite you. And so at any time, if I got like tense or freaked out or wanting out, like he could get me out in one pull of the rope. But if ever I got tense, it was surrender. And where in life do we get to take a moment, breathe, and surrender?
And was there pain at all? And okay, so no pain. I see you shaking your head. No pain. Was there pleasure? Like, was there orgasm?
Yes. So that was phase one. Was this visioning journey, and we called in the dragon inside of me. And is that to be healed? Is it to be expressed? Or am I to ride the dragon? And yeah, right, you can make whatever. That was not the intention, but yeah, it makes me giggle too. So that was kind of complete. And then the ropes were released and we checked back in. And then did we want to go deeper? And then the second time I was tied with my hands behind my back, opening my heart. My legs were also open, but it was more about heart opening. And it brought up a memory of my dad slapping me. And aw, see, Leo's protecting us. But my dad never ever hit me, and I had sassed. I had been a sass mouth. Leo, come visit us over here. So I had sassed at my dad. he reacted. He was immediately mortified and so sad, so upset. And in this moment, it brought it back up. And why, I don't know. But what's interesting is, like, 2 days later, I was talking to my father, and I brought it up, and we got to have that conversation. And he spoke into how upset he was about that. And it opened up a whole conversation about my parents and their divorce and how we've existed in the world and navigated the world. So that was the second part. Not very sexy. Mm-hmm. Then the third part. Mm-hmm. Can we take a break?
Take a break?
Yes. Do you ever take a break?
No, we don't take breaks during the podcast. We record straight through.
I'm so not prepared for this.
You're doing this is vulnerable.
I know it's super vulnerable, and I want to give you the juicy parts. So the third piece. So first of all, what I want to share is why we went on this journey. There is literally sexual healing available through Shibari. And I didn't know. I was just titillated. It was erotic and seemed hot. And I'm open. I'm open to experiences. I want to know all my dark corners, and I want to feel pleasure in my body. And I believe that is missing in our culture, or shamed. There's so much shame around sexuality. At least for me, that's how I was brought up. Like, good girls don't. You don't do it, right? You save the milk so that they buy the cow. Mm-hmm. Literally, I come from Raytown, Missouri. Like, that is what we're taught, or what the belief system has been. And now that I'm older, I realize how suppressed my sexuality has been. And one of the things I am calling into my life is a partner, is a king. And my intention in going on this journey is to open the portal for my king. Like, I want to sit in partnership with my lover. I want to deepen my trust, and knowing that when the feminine is open, there is nothing more attractive, yes, than the divine feminine, fully open, in pleasure. Those are the sirens, right? That is the beaconing. Nations go to war over that magnetism. In fact, I am all about activating our pussy power, and that's why I do my Wild Woman challenges, is exactly that, right? You can manifest anything from that point of view. So I was going there first. Leaders go first, as we know. So I was trailblazing our sacred sexuality. Well, phase 3 was hot, sexy, juicy, full penetration. We had full penetration, full on every which way, upside down, and pushing boundaries. Like, he spit in my face, and I didn't like that. That was not my jam. But the experience was to test limits. Like, maybe that would turn me on. Maybe that is something that I would never ask for in bed, but got the opportunity to try out here. And that's where we were going. So that was the third phase of this unfolding of the evening. And then the fourth phase happened. So mind you, at each point in this, he was checking in. We were talking about full consent. And penetration isn't like something that always happens in these situations. And it's just where our experience went. And I felt great about it.
Now, before you go into this, like, did you sign an agreement?
Nope.
No.
No, I know.
Would you suggest that?
some Shibari or sex workers or sexual shamans, sexual healers will have you. And mind you, ultimately where this goes, not spoiler alert, is he became my sacred intimate. And sacred intimates were sacred in the church. There were men and women who were part of clergy who helped people through their traumas, through their sexuality, that were considered deities in the church, that were considered holy helpers. And they would have sexual experiences with the flock in order to support. It's the sacred whore. It is bringing you closer to God, literally, right? Through this sexual experience.
Well, it seems like that this, to acknowledge this practice and to bring it more with greater awareness into our current reality, like the year of 2022 and beyond, like around this time period, that there would be a lot of healing and power into like what we've seen over the past, decade plus is, Me Too, Time's Up. And there's a lot of confusion around sexuality. Even We Deepen's internship program, I have 2 interns that I asked fairly recently. They graduated college. Or, I'm sorry, they're in college. They graduated high school not too long ago. And when I asked them what they're learning in sex ed or what sex ed like in high school, and it's not much of anything. There's not much of it. It's one awkward year or month in 9th grade that doesn't leave them feeling good. It actually feels really awkward. So there is the opportunity for the shift, and you being willing to go first into that realm is super courageous. It's bold as fuck. Okay, so I get the agreement thing, and I get that throughout this experience you are having consent conversations constantly. It seems like you're always communicating what is up and what is next, while also, I imagine, leaving some element of surprise and mystery because you didn't know he was going to spit on your face.
Right. And so I'm going to go into the 4th and final section because we did a role reversal. And it was the most profound awareness as a woman that I have ever experienced. So I put a strap on and I fucked him. And what I learned is he was in love with me. Like, I saw how googly we get as women when we're penetrated and how we're like, and we get loves. He fell in love with me in that moment, and I saw it. Yeah. And as the penetrator, I was like, yeah, this is fun. But I'm enjoying this, but I am not connected. I can walk away from this right here, right now. And I finally, for the first time, got to experience what it may be like to be in a penis holding body.
I really appreciate how you say may. It may experience like that, because also too, I imagine that you've probably had conversations with men after having this experience, because I could say, well, you were in a strap-on. It wasn't your real penis.
However, the other part of it that was profound was I didn't know what to do with a penis. And what he landed for me, because we talked about the lessons as we went along. He taught me some tricks, just FYI, along the way. And how men or penis holders don't know what they're doing with their penis. They're just trying things out. Because I was there. I had this penis that I was a penis holder of. And I was like, am I doing it too hard? Am I doing it too soft? Should I grab onto things? And it occurred to me, and this is one of the things I teach in my Wild Women journeys, in my Women on Fire, is our partners are not mind readers. We have to communicate. And in that moment, I got, they don't know as much. We have thought in the fairy tale, in our Disney fairy tale, that they're just supposed to sweep us off our feet and they know exactly what we want or need or what's going to fill our cups or how to whisk us off our feet. They need communication. And I got to experience what it's like to be on the other side of not knowing, am I too rough? Am I too soft? Am I going too deep? Is it not deep enough? Are you getting pleasure out of this? And boy, that was worth the price of admission. And mind you, the price of admission was expensive.
That's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I have been thinking, like, will she tell us how much something like this cost?
So I think he charges double this now, but I paid $1,500 for this experience. Now, this experience includes, and I kind of broke it down by the hour in order for me to validate spending $1,500. There's an hour pre-meeting. We were together for 8 or 9 hours in the experience, and then there's an hour debrief afterwards. So there's an integration period, and then I wrote down like my questions, my awarenesses, my ahas, my breakthroughs in the process as it integrates back in, right? You need that time. So 3 days later, we had a follow-up call where this was the other thing. At each section of the evening, we wrote down what happened. So you have the facts of what happened. And that because we are story making machines as human beings, and you could walk away and go like, make up any kind of outrageous story. But here's what happened. And I have the play by play. So I know exactly what happened in my journal. And then I could go back and replay, well, how did that make me feel? Do I like that feeling? Do I want more of that feeling? Do I want less of that feeling? Is this a place where I'm looking to explore in relationships? How could I ask for this in my relationship? And he works with partners, with people who are together in all configurations, and supports them in their sexual healing. How valuable would it be if you're in a partnership and you don't know how to communicate your wants, needs, and desires? And here is kind of a facilitator to say, hey, why don't try this thing? Everything's open and on the table. And you're with the partner 9 times out of 10, I would hope 10 times out of 10, but you want to bring pleasure to your partner, the person that you love, that you care about. And wouldn't you want to know, here are some things to try or expand, or this feels good, but this doesn't feel good. And there's no judgment, good, bad, right, or wrong about you. This is just this person, and the next person may like something totally different. And isn't it lovely to have a guide who is impartial, but just there to support your love growing, deepening your pleasure, and activating your passion, not only in the bedroom, but really in life? Because I can't tell you how many people come up to me, whether single or coupled, who complain about their sex life either being non-existent or non-pleasurable. And that's just not what we're meant to live as humans. It's just not.
Yeah. And that I've even had that experience where once the body contact starts, and there is like for me, I have, like, we're different organs, the male and the woman, and I tend to be more with men, or actually I tend to be only with men. And there's just like different ways of being. And I'm still in my journey of aiming to, articulate what I'm desiring moment by moment, and not, because it's really easy for me to be like, okay, start it, whatever. Let's just go with this flow, as opposed to, because it takes like constant communication, and I think there's something that what would be really like, I think for me would be really helpful is around the dancing of body with talk, like body with communication at the same time. And because I'm really good at communication, but once the body gets activated within it, then becomes body. And so now the dance of both of them happening together. Now at the same time, I'm also really good at, like, I've had men say that I'm good at telling them where I like to be touched. And I've been priding myself on that. However, I do notice that I could do a better job beyond that. There's opportunity for growth for me there. So you have this experience and then you move him in?
Yes. We, in our debrief, there was chemistry. And I was his first person out of pandemic that he was with. And he was the first person I was with for quite a while. And so we explored, what could that be? I don't know. I don't want to pay you for sex. And yet this is his craft. And I don't want it to be over. So what is it? And he came back with this proposal of sacred intimate, that we would choose a period of time where we would go on this journey, and I would propose a price and terms, and we would come to an agreement. And we came to an agreement, and he moved in. And
wow. And what was the time frame on this?
What do you mean the time frame?
Like, did you put a time frame, like this is going to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
So we were in communication, and there were experiences. So I broke it down. How I crafted the agreement was through experiences tied to costs. And that all fell within a bucket. And the whole experience fell within 3 weeks period of time around my birthday. So the cool thing about it was, I host this daily show on Clubhouse called Daily Kickstart. And I had declared my king at my birthday party. And I wasn't dating anybody. I wasn't even on the apps. It wasn't even in the realm of possibility. And if you all look, and we'll put the picture in there, here is a man literally crowning me in a robe, like my robe, as king and queen at my birthday party. And he was a full-on manifestation. Does it look different than I expected? Absolutely. Did it happen different than I expected? 100%. And he was the embodiment. I got to feel through our adventures, through our experience, of what it's like to be the queen to a king. And we live in this like manifesting community, right? It's like that vibration is matching the vibration I want to attract into my life as my ongoing partner, not just the partner who takes me on this sexual healing journey. But he was, wow, fantastic.
So how did it feel when it ended?
So we went on lots of adventures in our time together. And one of my issues in my life journey has been I've always made more money than men in my life. So this money thing was an issue. And part of our deal, even though I was paying him, was if we were ever out on dates anywhere, that he paid for it. And even though ultimately I'm paying for it because right. But I wanted to establish that my partner would be holding that space. And we had a big breakdown in that, which was amazing because I got to not only be in the elation of sexuality and exploration and the fun that goes with that kind of journey, but I also got to be in the pain and friction of daily life, of the rubber meeting the road, and we're not in agreement. We're not in alignment. So we got invited to Nobu, and we had this big dinner, and we thought people were taking us out, and they weren't, and the bill came. And as you can imagine, at Nobu, it was not cheap. And it infuriated him. It was a lot of money, and it was unexpected, and that was not his interpretation of the deal we had. And I was in breakdown about it because I don't want to be the breadwinner. I don't want to be the one paying for dates. And it caused this big friction for us that we got to work through. That was a breakthrough for me. Is I have a belief that when shit hits the fan, that men leave. And he didn't leave. Right? I'm in this transformational journey. I also have experienced men not leaving when the friction happens. And so it was just another layer of deepening and working through when we are out of alignment, when there is disagreement or our triggers. We were just triggered. We were both triggered by it. And my takeaway ultimately, and it took a month after he left for me to get to this point, but I was, and I believe this in relationship, me plus you equals our relationship. And I bring this piece to the table, you bring this piece to the table, and that equals our relationship. So what I brought to the table in this scenario was money, and he took care of my heart through this entire process. And that equaled relationship, that king and queen relationship. And when I finally got that, I was like, oh, what an honor it is for me to be the financial container. I can provide that in this scenario. And he 100% took care of my heart. He nurtured my heart. He expanded my beliefs, my knowing, my sexuality, my pleasure, what's possible, my kink, my belief systems. And what an honor it is to pay him. Are you kidding? The amount of money I paid him is a drop in the bucket of the gift that he gave me and the potential in relationship, the ripple effect now that I can create in relationship because he stood for that. So what happened when he left? So the beautiful part about this, and I invite this into every relationship moving forward, is creating a container. Whether it's a container for a night, because we knew he was leaving town. He was on tour doing Shibari around the United States. And so there was an end date. We knew that from the beginning. And again, I want to create this for all relationships of a beginning, middle, and end, and then choosing what's next, how we want to move forward, if we want to move forward. Like, what if marriages were like this? Every year at our anniversary, we got to go, okay, that was this year. What did we learn? What did we break through? Where were our triggers? Where was our friction points? And are we mutually choosing to move forward? So we had a ceremony. Every night before we went on an adventure, we would set the ritual. What is our spirit animal that's guiding us, calling in the spirits to protect us, to support us on this journey, and that we learn the things that we need to learn, and come back home to whole. We would take baths at night together with rose petals. I mean, it was pretty freaking magical. So the last night, we got to have completion. And actually, he wasn't leaving town yet. There were still a couple of days before he was leaving town, but we were completing it, and I needed to complete it. It was exhausting to live with that much energy, sexual energy, attraction, fire in my house. Like I was sick for the 2 weeks after he was gone, just integrating back in. But we held a ceremony. We talked through what we learned, where our growth gets to happen, what we loved, what hurt, what juicified us, what ignited fires. And then when we were done, we closed it and it was complete.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you for also being so authentic and vulnerable to share this with whoever may listen to this episode. And you come in thinking that you're going to have a recap of Feminine Weapon Day, and then this happens. Now, I do want to honor time. And I also just want to also honor that we did mention that we would share a little bit about We Deepen, maybe answer a question that you have about the organization. So let's end with that. And by the way, we know we just opened you up and your brain is probably like wheeling with questions. So feel free to submit them, send them to us. You'll see Amber J attached or tagged in this Instagram post, or you'll see her in WhatsApp. So feel free to message me, her, us, to ask some follow-up questions there, because that was a container. We just opened up a container. Amber, you have been a participant in We Deepen since I would say around the time of it came into inception. And we are in existence because of people like you, who show up and participate and give feedback, constantly give feedback. And you're a supporter. You believe in this. So what is a question percolating for you around what's next for us?
Yeah, we started to go down this road. I wanted to know, what is the financial model? Like, how are you going to put a roof over your head because you get to fund your lifestyle such that we get to nurture and take care of our community leaders? And how does that look currently? Is there a plan? And then how can we support? Maybe there's community coming together. And I mean, we have a lot of smart people and successful people in this community. So what does that look like?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking. And I have rallied a team of advisors. We have an advisor WhatsApp chat group where I have 4 of them in there, 4 or 5 of them now at this point, that are all invested into the success of this organization. And I was just saying, Justin, who's a mutual friend of ours, also one of We Deepen's advisors, that, there's lots of opportunities. There's so many different directions we could go in. And I was sharing with him that I birthed this into existence. So I have the baby, and I'm also really good at presenting and selling it. But it's this in-between stuff that I am calling on the support to package it now all together. And I had said to him, it'd be great if we got, a group of McKinsey people, to take their brain power and invest it into We Deepen. And Justin actually proposed, said, I can do that. I can help make that happen. And so the funding, or the revenue that, I think, there's 2. So we are going to go out for a round of funding. We're in prep for that, which that was the plan to do starting beginning of February of this year, going into March. And in that process, we wanted to prove revenue, to create a revenue story for investors. And we're doing that through, although Rahul, one of our other advisors, I said, well, Feminine Weapon Day. And he's like, that's charity money. And I was like, yeah, but it's money coming through us. It's revenue. And we might be giving that out to a 501c, but that is coming through us. And also with Relate Fest coming up is a multi-day event happening in Florida that we have partnered on. Besides that, we are curating other events not produced by us that we're selling access to. And so we do make money on the ticket sales, the referrals, the affiliates of those programs. Now in so there's that. And then as it building the economy, we have this WhatsApp group that is at 255 people. So WhatsApp only allows for 256 people. Yeah. So there's actually only one place next and there's some movement in and out of that chat group, but there's actually only space for one more person to join. So we are going to be moving to, I'll preface that not necessarily a move. We're going to add another community backend platform that will enable a membership offering for us to really to organize the community beyond what it is in WhatsApp, but into groups based upon geographical location, based upon interest, based upon what experiences you're attending. So that is in development. We actually have invested into this product. And so I do need to get it launched as quickly as possible because we are paying a monthly fee to operate it, but we haven't started to have the community start, benefiting from it and supporting us through that membership. So that is in motion. There's also, Justin and I were talking about there's with the festival life being activated again and corporations, companies bringing their employees together for multi-day events. I was a pharmaceutical rep for a 2-year period of time, and we had our big sales conference in Vegas, and they produced all these big events for us. And so a lot of the brands of experiences that we represent, we're going to be also showcasing them for companies to have, an Unleash, a Space, a Magic of Human Connection, 1,001 nights or circles at their festival, so they can plug and play. And we had started doing that right before COVID with Upgrade Labs, Bulletproof, Dave Asbury's brand. We were about to, before as COVID hit, we had presented about 5 of our experiences, and they chose 3. And so we're beginning to do these activations at bigger conferences and for companies itself. So that is part of our plan. And also it's we are going to be going for South by Southwest. We're going to be doing an activation with the Alpaca Playhouse, and there I'm going to be gathering some of our advisors together to be there with each other, so we can really fully more so map out like what is the plan, because there is, the energy around We Deepen has rebuilt, and there's a lot of facilitators or experiences that you fill out an application now, and we have about 6 applications in the pipeline that sometimes it's a bandwidth thing. We not only needing the funding, we also do need the team, the people that have stepped forward. And I've really met Matthew Bargist. He has joined We Deepen as our COO. And so he's been full-time with us since September. And so I'm seeing the capacity increase, but it is, the idea of We Deepen is to develop a tokenized economy, credit economy period of social and transformational experiences, so that you as a participant would purchase X number of credits, tokens per month, and then you'd redeem those at the social transformational experiences we promote. And that helps both ends of the system. So it helps the one, because right now, if you think of this is like a new industry, the human connection industry, and it's a little bit unstable.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unstable. It's an unstable industry. And so we aim to stabilize that industry by having people prepay for their experiences so that then the guides, facilitators, brands know people are going to show up because they've prepaid. And then also for the participant, our member, is that they are purchasing their credits on a monthly basis. And so they know, like, hey, I've taken care of my growth and my social life because I know where to go now to just redeem those credits. Because I think it's really hard psychologically when you're like $33 for this event, $45 for this event. Oh, this one's, $295. And so whereas if you know, kind of like your gym membership, it's imagine if you would have to pay, $25 to $50 every time you walk to the gym, it's challenging. So we see this as developing the economy of these experiences. And we're, now that COVID is cleaning up, we're getting to do the in-person experiences again, and the market's opening back up.
It's so smart, in coaching. I call myself a facilitator, but we always say packages over one-offs. You don't get transformation in a one-off. And it's really hard to, like you're saying, purchase the next one and the next one and the next one. But if I have a package, I'm like, I'm fully in. And it is like my gym membership. It's my transformational membership. It keeps me tuned up with my soul and my spirit. And the other thing I was thinking, Christina, what if you had We Deepen communities, meaning like housing communities where we all live in little little cottages, and we have little bicycles that go from house to house, and then the May house. Is that too culty? Am I getting too deep in We Deepen?
I love it. Do you want to run that?
No, but I would participate in it.
Oh, look! So there's an opportunity for collaboration if you would like to be the person to build these villages. Amber J. Larson, we have one participant, so we have one sale ready to go, and it's done. Thank you, Amber J, for having this conversation, for being so spontaneous with me, for being so vulnerable and open to share your insights. I am so grateful to have you as part of the community. When you come hang out with us, you get to have these interesting conversations like you just listened to and partake in. Any final words? We are meant for unconditional love, and we're on that journey together. I'm grateful for the platform that you create for connection, Christina. You are a trailblazer. Thank you. Thank you so much. So you'll see in the podcast notes where to find Amber J and see more about her work, have deeper conversations. Also, again, come join us in person. Go check out that calendar at wedeepen.com. Thanks again for listening to another episode. If you enjoyed it, share it with a friend, subscribe, follow, leave a comment, leave a rating, and give us feedback. That helps other people find this podcast. Thank you all for tuning in, and until next time, enjoy and go out in the world and deepen. Bye for now.